The self-determination of memory disease patients and advanced care planning. The self-determination of memory disease patients and advanced care planning. Self-determination is one of the most important basic human rights. It means that people have the right to be heard about their issues, the right to be a part of decisions about themselves, and the right to influence issues about themselves. In other words, people have the right to freely determine issues about themselves. However, one condition for self-determination is understanding that there can be several options in handling these issues and being aware of the after effects and being able to find a solution. How does a progressing memory disease such as Alzheimer's have an effect on a person's self-determination? When people become afflicted with a progressing memory disease, it does not automatically erase their self-determination or capacity. However, it is important to take note that when there is a progressing disease, the ability to make decisions on oneself and one's assets decreases, and that is why it is important to prepare for the future. Preparing for the future is an essential issue in safeguarding and reinforcing one's self-determination. It is important to express your wishes when you are still healthy and have capacity. People that have capacity have the ability to carry out legal matters and are fully aware of their rights. Important legal means of preparing for the future include a living will and a continuing power of attorney. A living will can tell what your wishes are concerning care and treatment in case you can no longer make these decisions due to illness, an accident, or some other reason. Making out a living will requires you to understand what it means. You should always make out your living will in writing. Many of them have a place for witnesses to sign. It does not legally require witnesses, but it is recommended. You can always update the will, and you should. A living will customarily gives clarification on resuscitation and intensive care. These are binding expressions of intent that must be followed. A living will can also tell what your wishes are regarding care, those that in a legal sense are not binding but should be followed where possible. These wishes are quite significant in long-term treatment when it comes to daily routines and the quality of life. For example, you should put your favorite foods, religious beliefs, and your main values in the living will. You should put it in a safe place with other important documents. You should talk to your family and next of kin about the living will. It's good for them to know where you keep it. You should take your living will to where you are being treated, such as healthcare center, hospital, nursing home, or other healthcare facility. You can also save it in the MyKanta online health records bank. Continuing power of attorney. It is possible to avoid appointing a guardian when making out a continuing power of attorney, as the two are often confused with each other. A continuing power of attorney is a legal document with detailed formal conditions, which is why a lawyer is recommended when drafting one. The continuing power of attorney appoints someone to tend to your matters if you are no longer capable of taking care of them yourself. You should make out a continuing power of attorney as early as possible, since it requires you to understand its contents and significance. A continuing power of attorney is based on absolute trust between the grantor and the attorney. It usually allows the latter the authority to manage matters on finances and assets, as well as healthcare and hospitalization. The continuing power of attorney does not become effective until its drafter becomes incapable of taking care of his or her matters. The attorney will get it ratified, that is, put into effect, at a local registry office. In order to ratify it, the attorney must provide a medical certificate showing that the grantor is unable to tend to his or her matters. On a final note, we should say that there currently is no one single legislation in Finland on self-determination. The main laws that touch upon it, however, are the Act on the Status and Rights of Patients, the Act on the Status and Rights of Social Welfare Clients, the Guardianship Services Act, the Continuing Power of Attorney Act, the Non-Discrimination Act and the Finnish Constitution. There might be situations that would force us to consider restricting a memory disease patient's self-determination. It would be considered justifiable only when the patient's safety calls for it, and the very last resort would be to take restrictive measures. These measures would be, for example, various types of constraints and technical aids for keeping an eye on the patient. According to current sources, a draft of the tentatively titled Self-Determination Act is supposed to go for a round of commenting in spring 2018. A great hope is that new legislation will safeguard the self-determination of memory disease patients and create good practices for way to reinforce people's self-determination in all circumstances, including those within the challenging work of medical care.